of Sarawak, Batang Lupa Expedition, 1844. Military advisor with unique rank of Sergeant General to Her Majesty Queen Ranavalona of Madagascar, 1844-5. Sutlej Campaign, 1845-6. Feroze Shah Sabrown, Envoy Extraordinary to Maharani Jainden at Court of Lahore. Political advisor to Herr, later Chancellor, Prince von Bismarck, Schleswig-Holstein, 1847-8. Crimea, Staff, Alma, Sevastopol, Balaclava, Prisoner of War, 1854. Artillery advisor to Atalik Ghazi, Sir Daria Campaign, 1855. India, Sepoy Mutiny, 1857-8. Diplomatic envoy to Her Royal Highness the Maharani of Jhansi, Trooper, 3rd Native Cavalry, Meerut. Subsequently attached Row-Bottom's Moss Troopers, Cawnpore, Lucknow, Gwalior, etc., V.C. Adjutant Captain John Brown, Harper's Ferry, 1859. China Campaign, 1860. Political mission to Nanking, Taiping Rebellion, Political and Other Services, Imperial Court, Peking. U.S. Army, Major, Union Forces, 1862, Colonel, Staff. Army of the Confederacy, 1863. ADC to His Imperial Majesty Maximilian, Emperor of Mexico, 1867. Interpreter and Observer, Sioux Campaign, U.S., 1875-6. Camp Robinson Conference, Little Big Horn, etc. Zulu War, 1879. Isand Wana, Rorke's Drift. Egypt, 1882. Kasassin Tel El Kebir. Personal bodyguard to His Imperial Majesty Franz Joseph, Emperor of Austria, 1883. Sudan, 1884-5, Khartoum. Peking Legations, 1900. Traveled widely in military and civilian capacities, among them supercargo, merchant marine, West Africa, agriculturist, Mississippi Valley, wagon captain and hotelier, Santa Fe Trail, buffalo hunter and scout, Oregon Trail, courier, Underground Railroad, major domo, India, prospector, Australia, trader and missionary, Solomon Islands, Fly River, etc., lottery supervisor, Manila, diamond broker and horse coper, Punjab, deputy marshal, U.S., occasional actor and impersonator, honorary member of numerous societies and clubs, including Sons of the Volsungs, Struckens, Mimbreno Apache Copper Mines Band, New Mexico, Kokand Horde, Central Asia, Kit Carson's Boys, Colorado, Brown's Lambs, Maryland, MCC, Whites, and United Service, London, both resigned, Blackjack, Batavia, Chairman, Flashman and Bottomley, Limited, Director, British Opium Trading Company, Governor, Rugby School, Honorary President, Mission for Reclamation of Reduced Females. Publications, Dawns and Departures of a Soldier's Life, Twixt Cossack and Cannon, The Case Against Army Reform, Recreations, Oriental Studies, Angling, Cricket. Performed first recorded hat-trick, wickets of Felix, Pilch, Min for 14 runs, Rugby Past and Present versus Kent, Lords, 1842. 5 for 12, Min's Casuals versus All England 11, 1843. Address, Gandamak Lodge, Ashby, Leicestershire. There follows an explanatory note. When Sir Harry Flashman, V.C., the celebrated Victorian soldier, scoundrel, amorist, and self-confessed poltroon, began to write his memoirs early in the present century, he set to work with a discipline remarkable in one whose life and conduct were, to put it charitably, haphazard and irregular. Disdaining chronology, he adopted a random method, selecting episodes in his adventurer's life and shaping them into complete, self-contained narratives. in the fashion of a novelist rather than autobiographer. This was of immense help to me when the Flashman Papers, which were still unpublished at Sir Harry's death in 1915, turned up as a collection of packets in a tea-chest at a Midlands sale room in 1966, and were entrusted to me as editor by Flashman's executor, the late Mr. Paget Morrison of South Africa. In accordance with his strict instructions, I dealt with the packets one at a time, and found that, thanks to Sir Harry's methodical approach, only a minimum of editing, correcting his occasional spelling mistakes, and providing footnotes, was necessary to render the work fit for publication. Each packet contained a book almost ready-made, and soon the public, who until then had been aware of Flashman only as the cowardly bully of Thomas Hughes's Tom Brown's school days, were in possession of his illuminating and often scandalous accounts of the First Afghan War, the Schleswig-Holstein question, the African-American slave trade, and the Crimean War. It was with the fifth packet that the pattern changed. Along with his account of the Indian Mutiny, Sir Harry had enclosed a separate brief narrative on an entirely different subject, which he plainly felt did not call for extended treatment. Since it was too short for separate publication, and its inclusion with the Mutiny memoir would have made for an unwieldy book, I put it by, hoping the later packets would yield similar fragments, which, with the first, might make a full volume. Since then, two other pieces have come to light, and the result is this collection of minor episodes in the career of an eminent, if disreputable, Victorian. One deals with a hitherto unknown European crisis, which, but for Flashman's reluctant intervention, might well have advanced the outbreak of the First World War by 3 decades, with incalculable consequences. Since it is by far the longest fragment, presents a picture of a great monarch, involves, if only at a distance, many leading statesmen of the time, and finds Flashman in alliance with the shade of an old adversary, I've given it priority. The second piece clears up at last one of the most puzzling mysteries of the Victorian era, the notorious Baccarat scandal, in which the Prince of Wales was an unhappy actor. The third extract touches briefly on 2 of the most spectacular military actions of the century, and sees Flashman pitted against one of the great villains of the day, and observing, with his usual jaundiced eye, 2 of its most famous heroes. As this extract was the first to come to light, more than 20 years ago, and its known existence has caused some speculation among students of the papers, I have given its title to the full volume. GMF. The Road to Charing Cross, 1878 and 1883 to 84. Chapter 1. You don't know Blowitz, probably never heard of him even, which is your good luck. Although I dare say if you'd met him, you'd have thought him harmless enough. I did, to my cost. Not that I bear him a grudge, much, for he was a jolly little teetotum, bursting with good intentions, and you may say it wasn't his fault that they paved my road to hell, which lay at the bottom of a salt mine, and it's only by the grace of God that I ain't there yet, entombed in everlasting rock. Damnable places, and not at all what you might imagine. Not a grain of salt to be seen, for one thing. Mind you, when I say 'twasn't Blowitz's fault, I'm giving the little blighter the benefit of the doubt, a thing I seldom do. But I liked him, you see, in spite of his being a journalist. Tricky villains, especially if they worked for the Times. He was their correspondent in Paris 30 years ago, and doubtless a government agent. Show me the Times man who wasn't. From Delane to the printer's devils. But whether he absolutely knew what he was about, or was merely trying to do old Flashy a couple of good turns, I ain't sure. It was certainly his blasted pictures that led me astray. Photographs of 2 lovely women, laid before my unsuspecting middle-aged eyes. One in 78, the other in 83. And between them they landed me in the strangest pickle of my misspent life. Not the worst, perhaps, but bad enough, and deuced odd. I don't think I understand the infernal business yet.